first, I want to get to this Dave Chappelle thing. Although Carl scooped us last night. Carl got the big interview with me as man on the scene at the Dave Chappelle show. But I want to talk about this article that was on Breitbart that was written about Dave Chappelle because I was there. I'm the world's worst eyewitness, I suppose. So we'll talk about that in a second. But first, I want to remind you guys, go to blindmike.net. If you want to listen to Sergeant Subscriber, then go to blindmike.net. That's the easiest place to find all of our links, whether it's Patreon. If you want to subscribe there, you get bonus episodes of Why You Laughing, as well as the free episodes a week early. You even get these episodes early sometimes. When we aren't able to go live on Sundays, we record these early and put them up early on Patreon. So you could have gotten this a couple days early if you were on that Patreon, or if you were a member on YouTube. I think we also accept gifted memberships with the holiday season. Who doesn't want that under the tree? Hey, you can now listen to Blind Mike's bonus content. So become a YouTube member if you'd like, or if you'd rather just support the show for free. All the free links are there for this program. Why Are You Laughing? And Who Are These Socials? So you can subscribe wherever you get podcasts. If you're watching on YouTube right now, do subscribe. Listen to the Sergeant. And we appreciate the support of the show. So let's get into this, because I mentioned very briefly last week, and I actually did want to talk about the show a little. We just had other things going on, so we never got to it. But I did want to talk about my experience at the Dave Chappelle show, because my take on it was going to be no controversy whatsoever. Right. I couldn't believe it. I thought Dave Chappelle was very well behaved, if you will. Because if you're a comedy fan, you've probably noticed that over the last couple of years, the main, even if you're not a comedy fan because of all the Netflix stuff, the main gripe with Dave Chappelle is his political views. And he talks about the trans community a lot and things like that. And when I walked out of that show last Thursday, me and the Skirt both agreed. It's not, this was much sillier than usual. And even people messaged me that were at the show and gave their same opinions. Said, in fact, one guy said, sillier is the exact word I used, where I'm glad he's being sillier with his stuff now, rather than getting so bogged down in the political stuff. Now, he did close the show by talking about Israel versus Palestine. He kind of made it seem like almost reluctantly that he was talking about it, until there was an incident with a fan that we'll talk about. But let's get into the article. And I'll note, they're very subtle. There's some very subtle misgivings in this article that I'd like to correct, if possible.
Report. Dave Chappelle goes on pro-Palestinian rant. Cheers of free Palestine and Jews leave.
All right. So in the title, we have some misinformation.
Right.
The whole, and you can call it a schmaltzy or whatever, and you can, pick apart his real opinion on it and everything. But he kept saying that it was a message of humanity. He wanted a more pro-humanity stance that he wasn't seeing in the media. So already you're misrepresenting how he framed his argument. Again, you can dissect what his real opinions were, and that's fine. But just in the title, they're framing it in a way that Chappelle never framed it.
Yeah, this is where the right shoots themselves in the foot, just like the left does, is on stupid, dumb stuff like this.
Exactly. Well, that's why I was disappointed when I saw it was Breitbart, where I was like, they're a real far right website, right? Are they still? I assume, even though they had died.
Yeah. Yes.
So that's where I was like, oh, you guys bitch endlessly, and we're gonna get comments now. We always get these comments, and a couple years ago, we did a lot more of this stuff, and I just didn't really enjoy. I remember, I think it ended when I was getting really into Rogan having Dr. Robert Malone on and Peter McCullough and these guys. Mm-hmm. And that's when I kind of looked at myself and was like, I'm not this guy. I'm not, my dreams are not to be the next Rush Limbaugh, You
check your Joe Rogan feed, you see Peter McCullough, and you're like, yes!
Yeah. I was like, this is not me. This doesn't suit my personality. So I backed off a little bit of this. So we don't talk about this stuff much, which is why it's even crazier. Like when we have Richard Ojeda on and we wash his balls a little bit, people will pick up and be like, oh, well, this point that he made, you guys didn't even push back on. I know, because we're having fun.
Did you see us laughing the whole time?
Lighten up. Even last week, we talked about some trans issues, and I thought you could tell we were joking because Craig's calling them tricksters over and over again. And I would correct him on his pronouns, and people would be like, Mike, you're really going to call this guy a she? It's like, first of all, if that's what they want, who gives a shit? And second of all, leave me alone. I'm just kidding. So people are going to get very worked up. Here's my... Go ahead. Craig, ask me my opinion on Israel versus Palestine.
Okay. Hey, Mike. I was just curious watching the news and was wondering where you stood on this Israel-Palestine conflict.
I have no fucking idea. Yeah, I don't even know what the issue is. I know they don't care for each other.
They've never.
I couldn't tell you anything about any of this. So I didn't even know what Chappelle was talking about half the time, to be honest with you. I was like, they were bombed?
Yeah. Yep.
So my point is simply the misreporting in this article because I was there. So that's all I want to talk about. Whatever your opinion is, go somewhere else. I don't give a shit about it.
If you're curious, I'm on the side of Israel.
We all know where Craig stands.
If anyone wants to know.
Yeah.
First line in this article. Comedian, it's basically the same as the title. Comedian Dave Chappelle went on a pro-Palestinian, anti-Israel rant at his show in Boston on Thursday evening and was cheered by the crowd, causing Jews present in the audience to walk out.
Nope. All right, we've got 2 now. We're up to 2 so far. We're about 1 sentence into this.
Yes.
Okay. Chappelle was not cheered. People sitting around me when he said, I want to talk about this issue, but I also don't. People around me were saying, don't do it, Dave. Don't do it. Please don't talk about this. And then the thing I found most interesting is when he was giving his opinion, and this is where I started to respect what Chappelle does, because I'm sure a lot of you, like when I watch his Netflix stuff, I'm like, oh, God, it's very preachy now. And I find him to be a very interesting speaker. So even if he's going to give a serious talk for an hour, I can watch that. I find him to be a captivating, insightful guy, even if I don't agree with him.
Right.
But when I watch those Netflix specials, I'm like, okay, this isn't really. There's a lot of this that isn't comedy. It's just him kind of lecturing people. At this show, which was a full hour of comedy that he gave people, at the end of it, he starts getting a little political, and people are going, oh, shut the fuck up, Dave. Boo! People are like yelling at him to try and get him to stop. So not only was the 19,000 seat arena not filled with cheers, people were telling him to shut the fuck up in a way where I felt like, oh, this is a very rare thing in comedy now, as much as we talk about being oppressed and shit. Like, it felt like a vibe of watching someone like Lenny Bruce back in the day, where people are telling him not to give his opinions. It was kind of wild to watch, and I thought it was an interesting comedy moment. Like, as someone that does a history of comedy podcast, it was kind of cool that I was there, because I got the experience of, oh, this is why he does this, because people are he's giving his opinion to what are supposed to be like his fans, people that are interested in him, and they're all yelling, shut the fuck up, Dave. That's what I found interesting. So the idea that we were cheering at the Garden is crazy. It's just wrong. It's incorrect.
I heard you were doing a stick tap with your cane.
Yeah, I mean, listen, if it was just the guy sitting next to me writing this article, then he was right. I was rocking and reeling and hanging from the ceiling. Yeah. Down with the Jews, Dave. Give them their comeuppance. It's about time.
Next part of this article is a source from the show posted on Facebook. Would you like that, or would you like me to skip it?
Oh, I would like it a lot, Craig, because I always think when I want news, why even bother turning on CNN when I could go to Facebook?
Correct. Hello, my friends. This is my first
Hello.
Facebook. Oh, dude, hey.
Hi.
This is my first Facebook post in nearly 7 years. Wow.
You can tell this is a reliable source because he's kept quiet for all this time.
Yeah. So when this guy speaks, you got to listen.
Yeah.
With that said, it is also the only social media platform I have. So I hope people still use Facebook.
Why are you telling us this?
Yeah, this sounds
I guess, to be fair, this guy's talking to his Facebook followers, and I'm like, why are you telling the article this?
Yeah. This sounds like it should have been a group message, though, maybe at most.
This is what dog shit this Breitbart piece was. Who's the writer of this? his name Joel Pollock.
Is this one of the ones that says it at the end?
No, it's a.
Joel B. Pollock.
Joel Pollock is a horrible well, he's not a journalist. He's a guy that reads Facebook. He's a
True.
he's a guy that still has the most irrelevant social media platform, and he saw one post and wrote an article about it. So shame on me for calling him a journalist. He's a guy that has Facebook.
I would like to share with you an experience I had last night. My wife and I went to the Dave Chappelle stand-up comedy show at the TD Garden with 3 other couples. What started out as a funny and joyful evening for the 8 of us ended with disgust and fear.
Oh, fear.
Yeah,
Fear.
I don't get it.
Is Dave gonna come at us? Honey, there's a black man on stage. Run!
How come I'm just noticing?
Get Dane Cook back up here.
Wasn't that wacky? Towards the end of his act, Chappelle mentioned the war in Israel and how he, as a Muslim, denounces Israel for its treatment of the people in Gaza and started to add in lots of false and unsustainable claims.
Okay, this is still not true, really. Well, this is where my memory's a little fuzzy because I thought he got to this after someone yelled at him, which we'll get to. I thought that's when he really went into the rant because it started with like, "Hey, I'm not on either side really. I'm pro humanity. Like I don't like a lot of the shit that's going on and the way it's being covered." So already this guy's putting his personal spin on what he thought Dave meant, in my opinion.
A gentleman.
Meanwhile, by the way, we're not even the crazy thing about this article. We're not shitting on the journalist yet. We're shitting on a guy on Facebook.
Yeah. This is definitely us just being like, "Can you believe this guy?"
Yeah.
A gentleman towards the front yelled out, "You should shut the fuck up." Chappelle lost it on the man, yelling, "You don't tell me to shut the fuck up at my show."
True.
I could believe that.
True.
Chappelle then started on a tirade of his beliefs, leaving comedy behind and focusing purely on the politics.
Nope. Nope. Again, he talked about that guy for a while. And then that led to him, because he was talking about how we live in a place where he's giving his opinion at his show and he has the microphone and someone yells, "Shut the fuck up." He was talking about the hypocrisy of that. And that eventually led to him giving his more in-depth opinions on the matter. It was not this instant like, "All right, here's what I think."
This next little bit incriminates you, Mike.
Okay.
While that was awful in itself, what made my heart sink and started to invoke fear was the crowd of nearly 20,000 people started yelling, "Go Palestine, go Hamas."
My girlfriend's Muslim. What do you want from me? She was, twisting my arm.
And other related hateful jargon. That's my
Again,
favorite.
that is the exact opposite of what happened. It's literally the opposite of what happened. People were yelling to Dave, "Shut the fuck up." Now, maybe someone in this guy's section yelled something the opposite. But what I heard up in the balcony, so believe me, I got a good ear to all of it, was "Shut the fuck up, Dave." People telling him to shut up.
I think everyone's just sick. At this point, everyone's just sick of it. The audience was cheering Chappelle on during his tirade. I was sick.
Yeah!
Yeah.
We thought it was a Bruins game.
No shit. No shit. You just looked at the banners up in the rafters and got inspired to yell.
Yeah. Tatum's going to bring one home this year.
I turned to my wife, to my friends and wife, and said, "I think it's time to go."
Wow, how brave.
Yeah, we walked out and met up with many other Jews leaving the show.
Hello, Jews.
Hey, Jews. Like a beacon went off. They all knew to.
Now, okay, can I tell you what happened here?
Yep.
Is Chappelle, goes on his rant. And I was interested in it because I think he's an interesting speaker.
Correct.
And then he says, your openers tonight are guys like I've come up with and worked with for a long time. I have a special relationship with each of them. Let me bring him on stage real quick. And he brings on Dane Cook, who opened. Well, actually, I don't know if Dan was on there. Donnell Rawlings, who opens for him a lot. And Cypher Sounds, who was the host. And 2 other openers who I'm not too familiar with. Chris Wiggins, I think, was one. And Marshall Brandon, maybe? I'm not too familiar with their comedy.
How long was this show?
It was over 3 hours.
Jesus.
So, okay, that perfect question, Craig. It was over 3 hours. It started at 7:30, and we left at 11.
Wow.
And Chappelle was still talking, and so he's talking about his buddies that opened for him.
So you left while he was still up there?
And that's when me and Alba were like, all right, we can go now. He was closing the show. And that's when people were kind of flooding out the door to try and beat traffic as best they could.
Or they were offended.
Now, well, I can tell you what I heard was that was awesome. It was people being shit-faced. And then there were a few people saying, I'm a Jew and I'd like to give my opinion. How the fuck did he know they were all Jews?
They were outside like those dudes that like drum on like Tupperware.
Yeah, their yarmulkes on.
Yeah.
Hello, Jewish brothers.
Never in my life have I felt so unsafe and so fearful of what I was witnessing.
That's on you, buddy. It was a perfectly safe environment. There was security there.
The words alone were horrific, but we were vulnerable in a public forum. How could we know what would happen? Could violence against the Jewish members in this audience break out? Holy
No,
crap.
it couldn't and it didn't.
I thought that was the end. It's not. Here in Boston, how was there so much hate for Jews? There wasn't, because there's a lot of Jewish people here for sure.
Yeah, there wasn't. Well, but again, maybe some of those people that left with me were leaving. Where are the chants coming from then?
Yeah.
If everyone's getting up and walking out, where are the chants of fuck the Jews or whatever he said?
How could a comedy show
Go Hamas?
How could a comedy show provide such a mechanism for people to verbally shout out their hatred for Jews?
Well, it didn't.
I mean, that seems like a dumb question. I mean, there is a microphone with speakers everywhere, so he can basically say whatever he wants.
And the comedian's usually Jewish. It just so happened this time they weren't.
Yeah. The unfortunate icing on the cake was that all cell phones and communication devices had to be locked up, so there was no video or audio evidence.
Oh, how inconvenient.
Yeah. So, although someone on 98.5 was in with their phone. Don't know how.
Well, I spoke to that man.
You did?
I don't want to get him locked up for having his phone, but I texted him and said, like, because I always, my default is that I'm crazy or I'm misremembering or something. So I texted him just to ask about this, and he goes, listen, like Chappelle said what he said. There was no max exodus. There were no chants. Didn't happen. I was like, okay, good.
Now, did you question said fellow on his hateful words towards Dane Cook?
He said the real crime was Dane Cook, to which I replied, I didn't think he was that bad, and I have not gotten a response. It was 3 days ago.
With that, I am hoping social media can spread the word.
Well, they sure did. I'm hoping I'm hoping. So, again, this is someone who's saying, these words were so hateful. I can't believe I was subjected to them. I hope you guys can tell everyone about them. I can't believe that I had to suffer through this. Let everyone you know this.
This last sentence is disgusting.
Okay.
If you have made it this far and know how to use social media better than me, please share and see if we can get this to the Boston Globe. Thank you.
Oh, good. Make sure it gets somewhere where it'll really be misreported. Get this to the bottom of journalism. Stat.
Oh, man. Chappelle, this is back to the article now.
Okay.
Regular article. Chappelle first condemned the October 7th attack on Israel by Hamas militants, but criticized what he said were war crimes in Gaza, according to people in attendance. Is that true?
Okay.
Is that what he said?
I'm not going to fight you on that.
The comments came up when Chappelle said that he didn't think students should lose job offers for supporting Palestinians.
That doesn't seem that far off. We're okay so far. Like, here's the thing: is Chappelle said a lot of shit. I don't think they're framing his opinions correctly, but at least they're not pretending to quote him here the way they said people were chanting "fuck Hamas," which didn't happen.
Yeah, and honestly, if people are from there, obviously they're going to support that land.
Well, here's my other problem with the article is again disagree with Chappelle's opinions all day. I think he should be allowed to say them. Maybe you don't. But the guy in the Facebook post said, geez, it's a real shame we couldn't record it to make everyone else feel the hurt that I felt." But how do you remember so specifically what he said? That's my question.
Yeah, you wrote like
Because
7
again, I'm
paragraphs.
having trouble when you're asking me, did he say this? I'm like, kind of. That sounds familiar, but I don't think it's a direct quote because anytime I walk out of a comedy show, even when it's not controversial like this, I'm always like, remember the joke about the fuck? What was it when he made the joke about the college kid? Well, I can't remember, but it was funny.
That happens to me constantly. I'll leave a comedy show and be like, "That was so funny." They're like, "What was your favorite part?" And I'm like,
I don't remember.
I couldn't quote a single thing.
That's every comedy show I've ever been to. So how do these people so specifically remember verbatim what Dave Chappelle said? That's my main issue. It's like, yeah, the things they're saying, it's like he had some opinions maybe you wouldn't agree with or maybe you would think are over the line or whatever, but they're misquoting him is my problem. Because
Right.
were they writing this down? Well, Joel Pollack wasn't there. So was the guy on Facebook writing all this down, or how did he get this information that Chappelle said exactly this?
An audience
Because I don't
member,
remember.
an audience member's command for the comedian to shut the fuck up drew an emotional response from Chappelle, who criticized the Israeli government for cutting off water and other essentials to Gaza.
Again, he criticized the guy for a while before he got into any of that.
Yeah, and
He said it was the biggest bitch move he's ever seen. Someone yelled out and called. By the way, like, before you get too high and mighty, one of the people that was against Chappelle yelled out, "You're gay."
yeah,
so I don't know.
I mean, like that's true. They should, some
Where's that in
audience.
the article?
It's not there. Some audience members cheered Chappelle on and shouted "Free Palestine," while others yelled, "What about Hamas?" The attendees said. Attendees.
Oh, so you talked to other people, Joel? Who are they?
Some in the crowd got up and left.
Yep, because it was 11 o'clock at night on a Thursday.
Video has yet to emerge. Spokesperson told the Journal that he was not in Boston the night before, though a schedule for tour dates confirms the shows took place. It is possible that the spokesperson was referring to the Friday night and not Thursday night.
What? So they don't even know if he was there? The people Joel Pollack is talking to don't even know if Chappelle was there or not?
They don't know which night. Because he was there for...
He was there Thursday and Friday.
Right. So they're like...
So is this guy insinuating that the Friday show is canceled?
He's insinuating he doesn't know which show it came from.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
That's good, solid reporting when they're like, I don't even know which night it was.
It is possible the spokesperson was referring to Friday night and not Thursday.
Well, then how the fuck are you even writing this article, Joel?
And the thing is, the whole thing was about the Thursday night.
The Thursday night show, unless there was an exact reenactment Friday night.
There's a correction at the bottom of this, which is hilarious. This post has been corrected to note the show took place on Thursday and not on Saturday.
Saturday? Where did Saturday come from?
I have no idea.
So he was here Friday night, and I had a friend there who told me like a fight broke out. Just like drunk people got into a fight, and Chappelle had to stop the show.
A fist fight?
Yeah, I guess so.
No shit. That's something I've never seen at a comedy show.
Well, so here's the thing: is like I walked out of there. It would have been great if I walked into this group of Jews because we all would have been complaining about what seems like the same things but different. Because I would have been like, "Hey, Jews, I'm never going to a comedy show like that again." And they'd be
Hello,
like, "Me neither."
Michael.
Oi, Gavolt! Because like a comedy show at a 19,000 person venue fucking sucks.
I bet.
I'll never do it again. Like I saw Burr at Fenway, and that honestly wasn't as bad as far as just like people not paying attention.
Well, it's kind of set up like a theater though, because it wasn't like in the round or anything.
It's a big theater.
Yeah, I know, but like the stage is one way and everyone's kind of sitting on the same level.
Well, so Cypher Sounds is the host, who's like, he does comedy now, but like it was a lot of, you know, like, where my Puerto Ricans at, like that sort of like
Uh,
very basic racial stuff.
yeah.
But he's also a DJ, and so like he'll like in between comics he would do some like, DJing shit, and then before he brings Chappelle on stage, he plays this song and tries to like get a sing along going. And for a minute, I was like, "Oh, this is kind of cool. Like this is a cool thing that you don't usually get at a comedy show." And then he did like 12 different songs, and we're on our feet, and we're like, "Dude, just start the fucking shit. All right, we got it. You've jerked your dick enough. You're a good DJ. Get Dave on stage, please."
Please, I need to hear what he has to say about
So
Palestine.
it wasn't a great environment for comedy. I'm kind of surprised Chappelle sets his show up that way. But it's also a lot of people there, like I'm guessing this guy on Facebook, that wasn't there to see Dave Chappelle, obviously. Like if you're getting offended by that type of shit, you don't really know what Chappelle does. So you're just there. I'm assuming one of the other couples was like, let's go to a show. And they were like, he's not going to bash the Jews, is he? No way.
Or he went because he was like, "Ooh, I could make a post afterwards and get some attention."
You know, that's also very possible. But I'm not even going to blame the guy on Facebook because, as we heard, he doesn't post on Facebook much. And he thought he was just talking to his friends, as we saw in his address.
Yep. And now he's in an article on Breitbart.
So I'm going to blame Joel Pollack for this, who didn't even know when the show was.
It wasn't Saturday, if you were curious.
Well, that's good to know. It's good to know that it wasn't on the day that David left town.
Yeah, it wasn't when he was in New York or whatever the fuck he was at that point.
Yeah, so that was crazy. Like listen, I really enjoyed the show. And even he starts out by he tells a very nice story about Norm, which I thought was pretty cool. And it was odd because we had just done the Andy Kaufman episode. And he starts talking about Jim Carrey playing Andy Kaufman.
Really?
So I was like, is this for me, Dave, you rascal?
Is he a fan?
Why are you laughing, guy? So he tells that story, and then I don't want to give too much away because he just filmed a special, but there's some self-deprecating shit that kind of lets you know he knows it was enough with the trans stuff.
Okay. That's very
you know?
funny. That's very funny.
Yeah, so like I thought he did a good job with that shit, and a couple times he's like, people would yell out like, "What do you think about Israel?" And he's like, "I want to talk about it, but I don't want to talk about it." And he would he kind of hem and haw, and you know he ultimately was going to talk about it.
Close with it.
Yeah, but that's what Chappelle does. You know what I mean? Like, so people at a Chappelle show were saying, "Hey, you're not allowed to talk about this." To me, that's the story.
That's insane.
But
like, especially they thinking he's gonna listen.
Those are my 2 cents. And make sure you timestamp when we move on because people might want to skip through this.
Yeah, I already did.
I'm
Right
sure
now.
we're gonna get plenty of comments.